Hey my friends, welcome back to a new video. It ends today. Today we have the last day of the year, and energetically speaking, there's a truly powerful transition happening. And the last day of the year resonates on a level of your soul purpose. So I want to explain what it means, why this transition is so powerful, not just because we are changing the number of the year, but because there's an important cycle of evolution that's ending at the end of the year, and it begins a new cycle. It's like an initiation of an upgrade of your path. So when it comes to this major transition, it comes to a greater awareness of the soul purpose. So what is soul purpose? Soul purpose is that divine calling that we all hold within. We all have it within. It's the song to which our heart wants to dance the most. And when it comes to the soul purpose, we all kind of feel on some gentle level what could be the best thing to do in our lives. Often people hold certain expectations how that voice should be, how that intuitive calling should be, and that's the reason why they don't hear it, because the gentle voice of the soul is often expressed in a feeling where we feel attracted towards something. Like, for example, sometimes people feel a gentle need to change their jobs because deep inside they know that there's something better waiting them in the future. But because of our attachments to a sense of security, we don't trust that there's maybe a greater security in that future potential. But we need to make that brave act of a change, right? And that's why that connection with an inner sense is so important. So I wrote on this name of this video, prepare yourself, because this is all about preparation. We need to prepare ourselves to in tune with that greater self, to in tune with that inner voice that is navigating us. And there's so much power when it comes to that inner voice. When we increase its sensation, we start to sense what kind of food is best for us, what kind of actions are best for us, what kind of company is best for us, what kind of habits and rituals are best for us, what kind of places are best for us, and so on. So it's like an inner mechanism that always tells us what's best for us so we can evolve in that divine way. And the truth is that most people feel disconnected from that, but it doesn't mean that they are actually disconnected. So we are just kind of distracted from it because we think that everything should happen like a notification on the phone, like something should cause a great voice, you know, when you hear on the phone bling and you recognize that there's a notification for you. With your intuition, it's not like that, right? You need to quiet down your mind. You need to go sometimes to places where you feel safe, where you feel at home, and suddenly you can hear that inner voice. And often it happens when we move our bodies, because, you know, there is no separation between mind, soul, or when you say you and your soul, there's no separation. Connection is always present, and spirit, what we call spirit, is actually the force that connects all of yourself together. So you can think freely, and you can feel what you think, and you can do what you feel, and so on. Spirit is connecting everything together, and in order to experience an alignment in your spirit, it means that you need to move your body. You need to go to places where you feel at home. You need to think pleasant thoughts. You need to recognize what pulls you out of alignment, like what kind of beliefs, words, attachments, actions you have that pull you back into your old life, so you can release it. So an important part of this message today is that you may be reminded of what doesn't spark a sense of fulfillment in your life, so you can let go of it and therefore increase an alignment with your life path, or with your soul path, better said, because soul is much older than your body. Therefore, soul knows much better than your body. Body have that animal instinct, right? It wants to feel safe. It wants to survive. Its purpose is to survive. But soul purpose is to create and to grow and to learn. And once we understand that, we start questioning, how can I work and act and do from my soul and not just from my body? And that's where we raise our frequency, because body is seeking food, but soul is seeking fulfillment, right? And that's a huge change that we create within ourselves. Body is seeking food and pleasure, while soul is seeking fulfillment and purpose. And as I'm talking about this right now, we have a greater sense of a purpose. And when it comes to purpose, purpose is not just something that happens. It's something that speaks to us. It's something that resonates. Like, for example, when I was younger, I was not thinking about doing what I'm doing. I was deeply in sports, in extreme sports, and many of you know that story. But the thing is, sometimes we can't even imagine in what kind of direction our life is leading us. But as long as we are following that heart's intelligence, that feeling that we know there's something more, we will get to the places, to destinations, to experiences we never thought possible. And there is the magic, when people say life is so magical. It is, because our mind is so limited that sometimes we truly need to surrender to experience more than we thought is possible. So I love to talk about this today because as we are reflecting this year, we may notice that there's a lot of the things we've been doing that we actually don't want to do. Like sometimes we find ourselves, for example, people pleasing, or we find ourselves competing with others, comparing ourselves with others. Often we find ourselves maybe trying to control everything, trying to control the outcomes. Or sometimes we stay quiet when we actually want to say something. Sometimes we feel exhausted and we actually need to recharge ourselves. Sometimes we think about limiting beliefs and stories we're telling to ourselves that we know they are not real. But because we are not conscious enough of what we are doing, we are repeating the unconscious programs, right? They are running in our minds. And then we come across reminders like this one that reminds you to question your life about how fulfilling it is and why you're not doing what fulfills you. Maybe because you don't know what fulfills you. And if you don't know what fulfills you, it means that you are on a path of finding that out, which means that you are a seeker. And seeker becomes a finder. That's the law of the universe. As long as you're seeking for something, at some point you will find what you're seeking for, right? But the problem is not that you don't know what you want or that you don't know what fulfills you. The problem with most people is that they are not seeking. They think that things should just find them. But you see, we are running in cycles, and each year is another cycle. And the transition between old year and a new year offers us a wake-up call. It offers us a wake-up call to change. And not to change in a sense that there's something wrong with you and you should change yourself. But you should question how much of the things that you're doing are bringing a sense of fulfillment. Because that's where you can step from being less conscious to more conscious. And that's where you may recognize that the universe actually has a plan for you. And sometimes it is required for us to slow down so we can recognize that maybe the way we were living our lives before is not the way we truly want to live it. And there is a greater sense of fulfillment. And what is fulfillment? Fulfillment is not all. It doesn't mean that when you're fulfilled, that your life is perfect. Like everything will be taken care of. It will be, but fear will still be present. Limiting beliefs will still be present. Doubts will still be present. But we can't be in two states at one time. You know, for example, when I'm doing what I'm doing, when I'm painting and making this kind of videos, it brings me a sense of fulfillment. When I'm filming this, the energy that moves through me, it gives me a sense of fulfillment. And that's what gives me a signal that that's what I need to do. And when I'm painting, it happens the same. But, you know, when I'm not doing that, I still experience fear sometimes because my ego turns on. And I start comparing myself with others sometimes. And again, my ego turns on. So, you see, it's not about letting go of the ego. We've been sometimes told that ego is bad, that we should let go or ignore the ego. We should upgrade the ego. Because ego helps us to experience this life in a unique individual way. And we need unique individuals. We need unique individuals. We need you uniquely as you are. Not as you've been told that you should be, but as you are. Because unique individuals bring unique lights that will bring unique harmony. Each light, when it turns on, will spark another light, right? And it can only happen when ego gets upgraded to a greater sense of awareness. Ego is grounding the higher energy. When you feel oneness, unity, inspiration, when you feel that spiritual connection with all, you feel like you're one with everything. But at the same time, it's hard to function in third dimensional realm if you feel just one with everything. You need to put also things into action. So you need to bring yourself into the realm of duality. And in the realm of duality, we also need to experience ego self, but we shouldn't be controlled by it. Once we experience the ego self, we will experience a sense of inspiration, but at the same time, motivation to make something out of that. And sometimes we will experience fears because ego is afraid of being hurt. Ego is afraid of being rejected. Ego wants to survive, right? So when people say that you should ignore ego, it's like putting your fears into a box, put them somewhere and ignore them. And it doesn't work like that. We can only master ourselves once we accept all of ourselves. And that's something that I want to remind you to work on in the year of 2023. Tomorrow I will bring another message for tomorrow's day, because today it's all about release. Today it's all about awareness of what we want to leave behind, what we don't want to repeat and demonstrate anymore. And just enlighten that aspect of you that you want to release it. Just enlighten that aspect of you so you can step through that transition cleansed. When you are cleansed, you are pure. And when you are pure, you can see things clearly. You can see your future clearly. You can visualize and imagine your future clearly. And when you can imagine your future clearly, when your mind is clear, things are being attracted to you really, really fast. And that's something truly powerful. In ancient teachings, it was called a mental alchemy, when you can visualize things into existence. And in now times, many people started doubting that power, because people can't comprehend that you can actually manifest things out of your thoughts. But you can, because everything is energy. A physical thing is just more dense energy than a thought or an idea that is visualized in your mind. But consistency can form energy into more dense energy, and therefore what was just a thought or an idea will eventually become a physical thing. That's mental alchemy. And for the year 2023, your greatest mission should be to sharpen your mind. So we can recognize that mind is not something that we just have, something that just happened in nature. Everything in nature has its divine purpose. So when we're talking about the mind, we're talking about divine purpose of having a mind that can think freely. Which means that you have a mind that can think freely, which means you have an opportunity to create freely. And when we start creating freely, we can recognize that we can help in making more harmony in the world or more chaos. And that's where it comes all to the evolution of each individuals. How much compassion we can actually experience for one another. Because as we start to grow on that path of evolution, at some point we go from selfish pleasures and selfish needs to collective needs. We go from selfish to selfless, right? And selfless doesn't mean that you experience yourself in a unity. You just experience yourself as a part of the community, right? And that's something truly magical. When you experience yourself as a part of the community called human beings, you ask yourself what's your unique aspect to that community. What's your unique part to it? Rather than comparing yourself, you ask yourself, what can you add up to it? What's your unique light? And we all have unique lights. Like when you ask yourself what makes you unique, are you really good with taking care of animals or maybe kids? Or you're maybe really good with communicating or connecting people? Maybe you're really good with sharing stories, with laughter. Maybe you're really intuitive or sensitive. Great healer. Healers need to be sensitive. For sensitive people, it's hard to live in this world because there's so much pain present. And you feel that pain, and that's why it feels so hard. But when you find yourself as being part of this community, you will ask yourself, how can you use your senses for the greater good of all? And eventually answers will find you. Until then, the universe will be teaching you to build up strength so you can deal with what life is offering to you. That's where the universe is building you up so you can serve your purpose, right? So, my friends, it all ends today. So become aware of what kind of life you don't want to live anymore. And recognize what is connecting you to the life you don't want to live. Reflect on your actions this year. What kind of acts brought you to where you don't want to be, right? Because life is nothing but a series of tiny little choices we make on moment-by-moment basis. So in a chain reaction, we make one tiny little decision differently and the whole timeline will change. And once we understand that, it means that we don't need to move or make hard, huge changes. We just need to start small. Little baby steps in a healthier way will lead us to a healthier life, right? So it's tiny little changes that are almost not visible to people around us. Like when we start, for example, reading a new type of books, nobody will notice that. But slowly you will start building up new knowledge in your mind. And new knowledge, if you stay consistent, will lead you to new experiences. You will feel inspired to try something new. And as you try something new, you will also experience something new. And as you become more sensitive to the little changes that are happening in your life, you will notice that each act cause a reaction, right? A cause and effect. And eventually you will notice that you don't need to change much to experience changes. And that will inspire you to start on maybe a bit bigger changes, like changing your habits. Habits are designed by consistent repetition of certain similar action, right? And eventually we recognize that everything we ever wanted was always in our power. Maybe not physically, but mentally and emotionally. So take time today and reflect on the life you don't want to live anymore, and see what kind of attachments, words you're saying most of the time unconsciously, beliefs you're repeating in your mind, and actions are connecting you to the life you don't want to live. And let go of it. Letting go can be done through forgiveness and replacement of the old way of living with a new way of living. And forgiveness, my friends, is a gift that will free you. Forgiveness will free you. So forgive yourself before you try to forgive to anyone else. Forgive yourself, and everything will be easier. So tomorrow I will make another video about tomorrow's energy that's more focused on manifestation. So stay tuned, my friends. Have a beautiful, sacred celebration of this powerful transition. I love you all, my friends. I'm grateful to all of you for being a part of this community. We've come so far, and I truly wish you all well. May all of your minds be beautiful, be sharp and strong, and may you always feel connection with what's right for you. So may 2023 bring you all of your blessings, and let me know in the comment section, how would you describe your vision for the future in one word? Let's see how incredible your minds are. Write in the comment section. Thanks to all of you for supporting my art in my Etsy shop, AttractPassion. I truly appreciate you all. Also to everyone who needs some daily reminders, you can find quick messages also on my Instagram page, AttractPassion, and my art gallery on AttractPassion. Go there and check it out. My friends, till next time, one love.